Okay, fine. So this is what happened. The postal services and all were remaining hand in hand, serving the useful public purposes. And definitely, as we said, that Indian people were not allowed to take those resources. Rather, it was only for the British government. And this came to an end of 2 century, British colonial government in the country. Finally, after 2 centuries, 1947, Indian independence, and then it was into the dawn, it became the dawn for a new era for the entire people of our country getting freedom. And that's a complete whole joy where people get into another, I mean, people get independent, right? So, at that point of time, we have to understand mainly agriculture went down, industries went up. Agriculture was still saddling here and there. It was not completely into things, but it was saddling from one point to another. And then foreign trade became only restricted to Britain. That also was trying to get modernized. And there were this words, terms called as modernization, capacity handling. A lot of things came into, and that became and those were the factors or the long-term factors which still impacts the Indian economy even today, even after it's been, as I said, it is 7.5 decades. 7.5 decades, that is 76, 77 years, yet we still have those impacts so strong on our Indian economy. How Hiroshima, Nagasaki, if you could remember, just because of those nuclear bombs being posted by the US on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, even today, how people suffer. But the same way here, we are not suffering as such, but we got more and more knowledge or more and more ways to take our country in a better way by implementing strategies from us, from by the people, and then in a more better and good way, right? So then it went into the Indian economy of 1950 to 1990, the new dawn or the new era after the 2 centuries long in colonial government in our country. They felt a kind of new say completely absurd about what's going to happen next. Independence, freedom, got our country back to the same place. It was a completely new feel for our country, people of our country. So then comes a lot. Okay, now we have got we have got or our country back to the Indian government. We became independent. We got our freedom. Now next, what we'll have to find out how it has to be moved on further, and that's how we understand what are the types of economy system in our country. So there are different types of economic system which are prevailing, and we decide which has to be chosen better or which has to be got better. For that, we'll have to solve the 3 main questions or 3 to 4 main questions. 1, what to produce. 2, how to produce, and for whom to produce. These are the 3 questions. If we solve those 3 questions, what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. So, if the government or if the economy is able to decide or get answers for these 3 questions, it will understand the or procrastinate, forecast the further strategies and implementation so that it doesn't take any diversification. Now, what to produce? So, what we have basically the people or the planners decide what are the main occupation of our country to that any matter. So first they analyze the entire demographic, infrastructure, occupation, all these they try to analyze those factors of a country. Later they decide what has to be produced in this country. Okay, what goods are supposed to be produced in this country. Then now you decide what are you going to produce. Fine. Next is, how are you going to produce it? Are you going to export it? Are you going to import it? Are you going to manufacture it in your own country? Or what are your strategies of doing this? How to produce? Next, for whom to produce? Whom are you going to sell these products? Is it the middle class, upper class, or the top class, or the lower class, the below poverty line? You will have to decide it very clearly for whom are you going to produce these goods. So for that is why we said that among them socialism appealed to Jawaharlal Nehru the most. We'll come back to that in the further slides. Now, what goods and services should be produced in the country? How should the goods be produced? Should producers use more human labor or capital intensive methods? Okay, then how should the goods and services be distributed among the people? For whom should be distributed? So these were the three main challenges or three main questions in front of any government you take in. So if they're able to get answers or grab answers for these three questions, they can decide which type of economy they can go into. Okay, so let's understand what are the types of economies. So one is market economy, capitalistic economy, or the market economy. In a market economy, it is also called as capitalism or capital economy. For only those consumer goods will be produced that are in demand. That is, goods that cannot be sold profitably either in the domestic or the foreign markets. Now here in this type of economy, they see what are the goods in demand. Demand and supply plays a major role in this particular economy. So firstly, they understand what are the demand of the people. Now this demand of the people of the country will not be useful for any domestic or international trade, foreign trades. It is a major drawback. Now, okay, that cannot be sold profitably because whatever is a demand for one country cannot be the demand for another country. So basically what happens, they'll not be able to sell those products for in the terms of profits. Okay, so example, there's an example here. If cars are in demand, cars will be produced. If bicycles are in demand, bicycles will be produced. If labor is cheaper than capital, more labor intensive methods will be production will be used and vice versa. This might not be the same for all other countries. So what they do, they will not be now if I say labor intensive methods, for this example, if I take labor, majorly labor, if labor is cheaper. Now we have cheap labor. Okay, India has cheap labor. Now China also is completely populated. There also it's not cheap labor, but they are also having labor. Correct. Now just because there is cheap labor in our country, I cannot be sending to those countries which are already sufficient or completely their total supply of labor more. So I cannot be sending them to them. So that is a major drawback in a capitalistic economy. So I decide what is the demand of my country. I produce those goods, but those goods will not be useful for any kind of trade outside for profitable. So they'll be like, oh, you have excessive. Okay, you put something 2 or 3, but I'll not pay you the more profit amount which gives you more yield. Rather, I will do something lesser. This is how they decide. Okay. Now, in a capitalistic society, the goods produced are distributed among people and not on the basis of what people need, but on the basis of purchasing power, the ability. Now, again, you'll have to understand. Now, a country, say Canada or Mexico or Britain or Europe, now there are cars being produced. Now, say not cars, okay, cars, expensive cars, Mercedes, Benz, Rolls Royce, all these cars are being produced. Now, I might not be as rich, right, to purchase a vehicle of, say Benz or Mercedes or Rolls Royce. So what I do, only if I have money, I'll go buy it. If I don't have money, that's a waste. There's no demand. So what they're saying is, only the demand is purely based on the purchasing power of the people, rather not just knowing what actually people need. So if they require food, instead of producing food, they produce them cars which are not all required. It's not in demand, right? So basically purchasing power and the goods and services. For example, the example of those countries is, one is UAE, Singapore, New Zealand, Hong Kong. All these are certain countries which are rich in market economy, and then one has to have money in pocket to buy it. So you don't have money, you come out. You don't go there. Only you have money in your pocket, you go buy items, things, you purchase things, and based on your purchasing power, they decide the demand of the product or good in that country. As a result, this commodity will not be produced and supplied as per market forces. Such a society did not appeal well to Jawaharlal Nehru, the first prime minister, because at the start they told them that, see, let's give the capital, let's follow the capitalistic economy. But Jawaharlal Nehru felt that it's not right to produce what is in demand. We'll have to see what is that they need in the country, rather seeing what is the demand of the country. And that is how commodity will not be produced and supplied as per the demand, market forces. So that is why it's called as market economy, because demand and supply is being determined. Based on the demand and supply, you decide which has to be bought. Okay, so the great majority of people would be left behind without the chance to improve their quality of life, and that is a big major decision what Nehru took back there, because he was the first prime minister of a country. He had to decide which has to be better. So that is how he felt that if you take market economy, then it will be more like on the basis of demand and supply. Rather, it is not on the basis of need or what does the people need in the country. So that is how this is basically need to, and a lot of a major part of the people will be left behind without improving their life, and that is why they decided, okay, let's not get into, let India not get into the phase of market economy. Now let's understand, moving ahead, socialistic economy. very draining. Huh? Okay. So let's understand the next one is socialistic economy. Now we understood what was market economy. They basically understand the demand and supply of a country, and then they produce, and that whatever they produce is not may not be useful for the country as a whole, because something which is in demand is only being produced, but they are not rather looking into what people need in that country, right? So people are not actually understanding what is actually the need of the country. Rather, they just chumma producing whatever is the demand of the country, and there's nothing. Even if they try to do some trade internationally or domestic trade, it may not be useful, right? So it may not be useful for a profitable purpose. So let's understand what was the next type of economy, that is socialistic economy. A socialist society answers the three questions. So which are the three questions? What, how, and for whom. It answers these three questions in a very different manner. So what they're saying, in a socialist society, the government decides what goods have to be produced in accordance with the needs of the society. So government strictly follows what is the need of the government country. It doesn't think that what is demand or supply. Rather, they think or they decide what is the need of the society, and they strictly produce only that. Strictly, the government takes care of the entire country and they produce only that. Now, it is assumed that the government knows what is good for the people, country, and so that the desires of individual consumers are not given much importance. So, the government actually decides what is being required or what is in need of the country individual. Rather, they did not see what are the individual customers needs. So every, as we say, choice of consumers keeps increasing, needs of consumers keeps increasing. So that is how what happens in the socialistic economy. The government decides, okay, what is being required by our country, we produce only that. We are not going to produce anything more, because we know what is required for the people of the country. We are not going to discuss, rather ask anything. Okay, so the government decides and to produce how they should be distributed, and they even decide how are they going to be produced, how are they going to be distributed. So all these three questions are being answered by the government all alone, because they feel that they know what is good for the people and what is not. So these three are completely taken over or looked over by the government. So it's not going to be a challenging way for the government as well. And in principle, distribution under socialism is supposed to be based on what people need and what they'll be able to afford or purchase. So that was the primary objective of the government in socialistic economy. Okay, so unlike under capitalism, for example, a socialistic nation will provide free healthcare to all its citizens. So it doesn't wait or stop to see that only a few part of people should be done or should be provided with the public facilities. It makes sure that everybody is being given equal rights to use the public facilities, no matter what. So that is how they said that we as the government will decide what is required for the people, rather than consumer or individual consumers think over. Now, this is being strictly no private property, since everything is owned by the state. There is no private invention. Very main important thing is no private invention in the socialistic economy. No private is going to be entered. An example is Cuba and China. For the best example, most of the economic activities are governed by the socialistic principles. So China is the best and most famous example for socialistic economy. Why China? Because China is completely taken over by the government. The government decides what has to be done. You see China, China's policies and strategies, you literally wonder how are they able to do it. Firstly, in China, they said that a family cannot have more than one child, because the population was increasing. So just because they cannot have more than one child, they decided that if a family or if a parents are able to born more than a child, what they do, the second child, if you have a second child, the first child will be taken over to the army. Okay, so these are one such policy what they follow. Second thing, have you ever seen Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, or any of the social media apps, or anything to that matter? Not only social media apps, anything to that matter. A lot of Chinese apps have been produced. Now, McDonald's, KFC, any foreign investment or any companies or industries of the foreigners will not be entertained in China. What they do, basically, now example, McDonald's enter China. Okay, McDonald's enter China. So government, that is the Chinese government, will make sure they purchase 51% of shares of the McDonald's in China. And then later what happened, they will try to understand the strategies, the way of, they making their products, and finally what they do, they will throw them out of the country. That is why you cannot see any private company in China, because China is famous for taking over the company rather than developing the private institutions in their country, because the government feels that they are self-sufficient to have n number of industries themselves. They do not want anything private or anything foreign coming inside their country. So whichever companies go to China, they will let them operate for maximum 5 years. After that, they will take or they will buy their entire shares, and the government becomes the sole owner of of that company, and they'll throw all these people out. So that is why they follow strict policies in China. Apart from that, you have examples like Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Iceland, Finland. They're all small countries which been taken over by the government, and the major king, North Korea. So North Korea is also one of the best example of socialistic economy, because as we all know, not even a single news from North Korea comes outside, because the government, the army there completely has taken over, and they have taken the entire government, entire people into their hands. It's quite difficult for them to let any news outside. It's not difficult, they do not want anything to be leaked out of their country. You don't even know how many people are there in North Korea. You don't even know anything about them, because the government, the person there, is not letting anything go out. And we in and there we hear some news like this: 10 million people are below poverty line. They do not have food, they do not have proper shelter, they have a lot of restrictions to be followed. And the rules and regulations, whatever we hear about North Korea, is completely suffocating for the people outside that country, because it's the policies and strategies what he's made is so insane that it's quite difficult. People have to follow it, and if they do not follow it, they'll be shot dead in the public. So there are a lot of, and in that case, I think India is more luckier for not having such economy in our country. And if you could see, a lot of apps were thrown out during this COVID lockdown and economic downturn. So that is when they threw away all the prime minister took over the stand of taking and throwing away all the Chinese apps from our country, banned all those apps, because we do not want to be, that was a, they try to show that they are angry over China for doing certain activities against the world. And then we have mixed economy. Most economies are mixed economy, that is the government and the market together answer three questions of what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. These are decided by both government and the market. Okay, so these three questions are beautifully solved by joining hands with both private and government. And one biggest example or the best example is our own country, India. India is having a mixed economy. So the mixed economy, the market will provide whatever goods and services it produces well. So it makes sure what are we self-sufficient with, we produce those goods, and the government will provide essential goods and services which are the market fails to do. So whatever the market will market or the private produce those which are able to produce, but whereas government will produce goods which are self sufficient or which are in need. Only those goods are being given by the mixed economy, and one such big example is India, United Kingdom, France. All these are mixed economy because the government and private together they decide what is good for the people, what can be produced, how they can produce, how can, for whom or not to distribute. And that is why I feel that we are much way better than both the other economies, not like mere like this capital economies like USA, nor like social economies like China, and mixed economy is much better compared to the other two economies. Let's move forward in understanding what is a plan. My God. Vinay sir is there? Vinay sir is there or someone who knows economics? I'm stuck in one part. This 5-year plan. Ha, is there? Yeah, he's there. I think